If stones could speak, if meadows could sing, if houses could talk, what stories they tell us about the generations of people who once lived and loved and worked and raised their families here in the town of Whitingham, Vermont. Chartered in 1770, Whitingham has seen generations come and go, each one leaving their own unique legacy. And if you're ever curious about these ancestors and their way of life, there's a treasure house of artifacts and memories just down the road in the Museum of the Whitingham Historical Society.
I think the Whitingham Historical Society's museum is the best little museum in Vermont. It has a vast and eclectic collection of artifacts that represent the lives of families who were here in the 19th century, in the early 20th century, and many of whom are still here. These artifacts can tell us a lot.
One of the museum's most interesting exhibits is an especially beloved piece of equipment.
This was the telephone switchboard in Whitingham from 1925 to 1958.
Edith Washburn's mother was one of several village women who were proud to work as telephone operators. These women connected their neighbors to the outside world, all from the front parlor of the Willard family home.
Yeah, somebody would call in and she would say, "Number, please." And they would either give her the number or they'd say, "Could you connect me with Evelyn Morse?" And she would know the number and just punch it in and connect them.
Another popular exhibit is the extensive collection of 19th century farm tools and equipment made and used by the Allen family at their Pleasant Valley farm in Whitingham, which was established by the family of Elijah Allen in 1821. The entire collection was donated to the museum by Wallace Allen, whose granddaughter Stella Stevens is president of the Historical Society.
All these tools were used by the generations of the Allen family. This was for making candles, and this makes 12 at a time. And there's a different variety of it that only makes 3. And these are one of the horseshoes. There are plenty of shapes and sizes of these. This you'd all like to do is taking teeth out of the horses and the cows. All these tools were handmade, and if you think about it, there's a lot of work put into it, and they worked their heart out trying to make what they had to have. They couldn't look in the catalog and dial it up.
For Society member Lee Peters, the most interesting part of the museum isn't even on display.
The most interesting thing to me in this museum, and there are many interesting things, I mean, a person could easily spend hours in here looking at the exhibits, but for me personally, it's the file cabinet.
It was in this cabinet that Peters discovered the tragic story of young Merritt Fuller.
One night, actually January 6th, 1858, it was bitter, bitter cold, 30 below, And Merritt and two of his brothers started off to walk up to Searsburg Mountain, to the school up there, to participate in the spelling bee. They came home kind of late. It was, as I said, very cold. And his brothers decided to stay on the road, but Merritt decided to cut through the woods to his grandfather's house. I think his name was Kennedy.
Merritt never made it. The boy from Whitingham froze to death late that night on a hill in Hartwellville.
So in the spring they came back, and the family came back and erected a stone on the spot where Merritt had fallen. It's a gravestone, explaining how he had frozen to death on that night. And its stone is still there today. So I went in the spring and I found the stone, and I brought with me a small peppermint candy, which I left on top of the stone as a little gift for Merritt.
Besides crafting their own tools, our Whitingham ancestors also made their own clothing, including these two wedding dresses. This dress, worn by a bride in 1832, is a marvel of design, color, and hand stitching. Also handmade is this tiny dress, worn over 100 years ago by little Grace Cross. Exhibits of domestic life at the museum include butter churns, kettles, handmade jugs, and an old cast iron stove. There's also an extensive collection of kitchen equipment used by generations of Whitingham homemakers. And for all you fans of Laundry Day, the museum also features a collection of old wash tubs, wringers, washboards, and newfangled washing machines. In times of war, the men and women of Whitingham have always answered the call, and the Historical Society's museum is home to artifacts from many eras and conflicts. The one-room schoolhouse, so beloved in the 19th century, has all but disappeared. But behind the museum, you'll find Whitingham Schoolhouse Number 9, beautifully restored to the days when students really did walk 3 miles through the snow to learn their ABCs. Romance and affection were as important to our ancestors as they are to us. This 1842 autograph book was owned by Sophia Hall and contains handwritten verses from dear friends and ardent admirers. A mysterious gentleman known only by his initials LL writes, "Like dewdrops on the thirsting flower, like moonbeams on the sea, so dearest falls thy tender glance, thy look of love on me." Of course, the most famous person from Whitingham, and the one who achieved the most notoriety, is Brigham Young, the charismatic leader and pioneer of the Mormon Church. Local legend says that Young got his name when the family's wagon broke down in Whitingham.
Their wagon broke down in Whitingham. Their son was born in the Brigham family home, and they named him Brigham in their honor.
Young went on to lead the Mormon migration across America.
There's a couple of monuments to Brigham Young in the town of Whitingham. One official monument that was sponsored by the Mormons is up on Town Hill. It's a beautiful structure. And there's another more irreverent monument that's located at his birthplace. It says, Brigham Young, born on this spot in 1801, a man of much courage and superb equipment.
Despite the enigmatic monument, Brigham Young's zeal, fortitude, and leadership are beyond question. History is all about people and their stories and the things they leave behind. Come connect with your ancestors. Visit the Whitingham Historical Society Museum and take a step into history.